请问您叫什么名字？
我叫 Eric Meltzer。
可以做多一些自我介绍吗？
可以，我是INBlockchain，就是硬币资本的合伙人。我们是中国的一个就是 crypto 的 fund。对。
您的公司名字叫什么？
叫 INB Capital。对。
那您的公司主要是做什么的？
我们是中国最大的就是区块链基金，我们就投资各种区块链项目。
可能很多人非常的好奇，你是怎么样学习中文的？
我之前是在北京大学上了2年的学，后来退学去做其他的项目了。
Alright, that's great. So I guess a lot of audience already know, like you have studied Chinese in China, and also you're working at the fund, the biggest fund. So what's your projection? So what are the projects that you're working on? You think they are promising for blockchain technology?
So personally, I'm really excited about privacy coins. I think that's sort of the market that's going to be most addressable over the next year or two. I think there's a lot of other stuff that's going to be really cool in like 2 or 3 years, but I think right now that's the big market. So I'm very excited about Monero. I'm very excited about Zcash. There's a new project that we're early investors in called Mobile Coin. It's another sort of privacy-focused coin that I'm very excited about. I think some of the decentralized exchange projects are really cool. So like 0x is something we have a pretty big position in. And then we're big believers in Bitcoin. We've got a big Bitcoin position. We think Bitcoin is going to stay on top for a while.
Yeah, that's the Bitcoin. I guess everybody is paying a lot of attention now because it has the price has been increasing a lot. Do you think it's a bubble?
Man, that's a good question. I think calling a bubble is really hard with Bitcoin. I think there's a funny experiment you can do where if you go on the old like Bitcoin talk forums and you look at the posts from 2012 or 2013, you'll see a lot of people. And if you removed the numbers, those posts look exactly like what people are saying right now. So when Bitcoin was like $200, there's a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's a bubble." I mean, who would buy Bitcoin at $200? How ridiculous! And people have been saying this for a long time. So is it a bubble now? I think is a really hard question to answer. If the question is, will Bitcoin keep going up? I think the answer is yes. There's a lot of institutional money. There's a lot of people around the world globally that are only now kind of finding out about Bitcoin, and it's a fixed issuance coin, right? There's only 21 million Bitcoins, and in reality, there's maybe only like 18 million that are actually going to be in circulation. The rest are lost. And so when you have something like that where the supply is limited, it's strictly limited, but the demand is almost infinite, I mean, is that a bubble? I mean, is the US dollar a bubble?
So how do you define the demand? Like, why people need it?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think there's a lot of use cases for Bitcoin. I think the 3 big ones are, the first one is the most simple, and it's the one that it's doing right now, which is like it's a seizure-resistant store of value. So if you have capital, if you have money, and that you're worried about that money getting taken away from you, whether by a bad government or whether by malicious actors or whatever, Bitcoin is maybe the safest possible place for you to put your money. It's very difficult to secure, but it's doable, and if you do it right, it's almost truly seizure-proof. So that's the first use case. I think the second use case that we might start seeing with Bitcoin that I'm also very excited about is Bitcoin as like a reserve currency. And so you see currently nations around the world tend to hold a reserve amount of US dollars to pay their foreign debts with. And I think Bitcoin might serve that purpose. So for Bitcoin to be a good reserve currency, we're going to need the volatility to go down a lot. But I think that's happening. And recently there was a news that said Bulgaria seized like $3 billion worth of Bitcoin. So like if Bulgaria just decides to keep that Bitcoin and say we're just going to use this as our reserve currency, that's like hugely exciting for Bitcoin. And then the third use case is the one that people have been talking about forever, is like Bitcoin just as a world currency. And I think that's very, very far off, and I really can't comment on whether that'll happen or not.
So do you think what would be the challenges for the government to accept it as a reserve currency?
Yeah, I mean, so the big challenge is the volatility of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is certainly much more volatile than the dollar. But there are some commensurate advantages also, like Bitcoin, there is volatility, but the volatility is positive skewed, so it tends to go up. And Bitcoin is a store of value that's divorced from the American government control. So if you're a government that's not a big fan of the American regime and you need a reserve currency, there could be a lot of appeal to Bitcoin in that sense.
Okay, so I still have another question. So from our partner. So what will be your prediction, the Bitcoin value at the end of this year?
I mean, I'm guessing like anyone else. If you had to really make me guess, I would say it'll be around 100,000. I think there's going to be a lot of unlocked demand from institutional investors. I think, 100,000 wouldn't surprise me. Let's put it that way.
Wow, 100,000. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.